When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. Oh, I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with things I've been knowing, things that make the tall trees bend to leaning. Suddenly the snowflakes that fall have a meaning, sprinkling, sparkling. Oh, I wish it all here. I had to bring some rhythm into this. I had to, because Mama Ayoka is that vibration that reminds us, that calls us into alignment. Her vibration, it reminds us of the standard. I'm so appreciative of you, Mama Ayoka. This tour is inspiration for us, and it is an ode to your life's work. Homecoming Ghana wasn't a product that existed prior to our introduction to you. You and I first met in 2019 in Ghana for the Year of Return. We were there celebrating the coming together of global African people, and with Mama Samia Nkrumah, the daughter of Kwame Nkrumah, the first president, to help emancipate African countries from colonial rule. She was there, and we were with her, and so many others like Mwali Msada out of a region of Florida. I think that's Flagstaff or Flagtree. He was there with us, the daughter of Malcolm X, and leaders from across Pan-Africa. They joined us in 2019, and you said, Kim, I'm going to follow the journey. When you said you want to do this work to use art for social transformation, what exactly does that mean? I said, Mama Ayoka, we're still figuring that out. It looks different in every region where we work, but I want to figure that out with you. And you said, okay, I will join your WhatsApp group and I will watch you work. I want to stop because I think I see a flyer on the screen, and I want to remove that from the screen. Is that possible? There we go. Because I'm having this conversation with Mama Ayoka before I address you all. You see, she began by saying that this Kwanzaa program was being dedicated to incredible women, that we stand on their shoulders. She acknowledged Asa Hilliard's daughter. She acknowledged her. She said that she was an ancestor and that we acknowledge her and bring her vibration into the room. Then she acknowledged our Queen Mother, who was installed in Ho, in the first sister city established with Gainesville, Florida. She acknowledged her presence and others. But Mama Ayoka, I want to acknowledge you, because the reason we're here together celebrating Ujima, the reason that we are still living out this collective work and responsibility is because our elders are still around to hold us accountable. And I want you to know, hear it from me, if you've not heard it up until this point, that I'm in Baltimore. We have people tuning in from Cleveland, Ohio, young people in Entebbe, Uganda, Lagos, Nigeria. We have elders from Newark, New Jersey. I mean, they're listening, they're on this YouTube. Baltimore, Maryland, I'm here. I just want you to know that they all hear me, right? Hear me now. Mama Ayoka in Gainesville, Florida. She's been doing this work. Her life has embodied this collective work and responsibility. And on behalf of the Teaching Artists Institute, Thai Tours, and all of our affiliates, we dedicate this day of Ujima to you and give you these flowers while you can still celebrate it with us. Thank you. Madasi. Thank you so much. Asante Sana. All of those African languages that they've given us, they stole our languages. But when I try my best to say words like thank you, and instead of saying thank you in English, I say Asante Sana in or Akwaba, like welcome, or I say Madasi. I'm trying to hear the words of my ancestors. And so bear with me if you're on the other side, if you're on the continent and you hear me chopping up your language. We're still learning here in the diaspora. And Kwanzaa is one of the ways that we practice. Mama Ayoka, her life has reminded us that Kwanzaa is only reminiscent of those real first fruit festivals that are still taking place on the continent around the harvest. It is borrowing those practices to give us practice, but practice is over. At this time in our history, it is time for us to do the real ceremony. It is time for us to learn about the first fruits festivals that are on the continent. And now that we have this opportunity to celebrate Mama Ayoka, we talk about the Homowo Festival. Nearby, he mentioned that it's still happening right now. It's looking at the life cycle of maize. The entire community structure of the Ga people is based on the coming and going, the ebb and flow of the harvest of maize. And that Homowo festival was a spiritual one. And Mama Ayoka has been holding that tradition in Gainesville, Florida for 20 years now. 20 years. And she said, Kim, it's time for us to operationalize Pan-Africanism. It's time for us to take our community from Gainesville, Florida, who's been celebrating the Homowo Festival with us, over to Ghana, to the Ga people, with my son, to the school, to the real festival. I want them to understand and experience the spiritual nature of this festival holistically. And I said, Mama Ayoka, we got you. So we're going to put together a package. We've started to do that. That is holistic. That includes the Homowo Festival. But I want to tell you a little bit about Thai Tours so that you understand what you'll be signing up for. We're here with you, not just once you get on the ground with our curators, but we're here prior to your leaving. When we say that our organization is committed to operationalizing Pan-Africanism, that means that we're willing to be there with you, walk beside you as you get your passport. Because many of us in our communities, we don't have basic things like our passport, our opportunity to go across international borders. We're there with you through the visa process. Ghana has a difficult visa process for those of us living outside of Ghana. You're going to the embassy in DC. We're there with you for that. We're there with the payment plan and the fundraising strategy because it takes money to go back home, and we understand that. And so we want to tell you why our organization is committed to that, because we understand that story is the most important art form. So I'm going to share my screen. I see Art, Tribe, Trade. Baba Haki, if you could bring that up, we're going to show them a little about Thai Tours and some of the curators we have around the world, especially those in Ghana. Because this Kwanzaa year, we don't want you to wear your dashiki, the beautiful angelique print. We don't want you to just light your candles and remember that as a theory throughout this year. We want you to take it to the next level. We want you to see where these traditions originated. It is that time in our history. It's time for us to collectively go back home. And this opportunity with Mama Ayoka to share in it with her family is nothing but a blessing to our organization, Thai Tours. Thai Tours is a subsidiary of the Teaching Artists Institute, and our goal as an organization is art for social transformation. But for us, art is everything and everybody all the time. We didn't create this. We understand that because it is the African worldview. In the African worldview, the drummer, they're not just the beat on the track that sounds nice. They're a communication system. When we're at war, they play a certain cadence that prepares us for battle. When a new child is born, when an ancestor transitions into the ancestral realm, they play a cadence. A drummer was a part of the communication system for the village. This is something we find across the continent, across ethnic nation. When we think about the griot holds the history of the village. They are not just a nice story. This isn't Hollywood or Nollywood for the sake of entertainment only, but the griot was a walking library for our community. We use this this knowledge, this indigenous knowledge that we found from the African village, and we use it to inform our organization best practices. And so what it has taught us is that art is everything and everybody all the time. It's not for specialists in museums that we go and listen to like expertise. When you hear the music in South Africa, everybody joins in. We're all a part of the choir. And so what we're saying is that going into Africa, being a part of the village is an experience that you have to live for yourself. Bringing that about is what is going to help facilitate our global African collective work and responsibility. It's time for us to go and see for ourselves. And as an organization, we use the best of African best practices in the village on behalf of the artist class to facilitate that dialogue. So we're going to go over a few things about our organization. I see someone saying, as Queen Mother, I acknowledge the great Na Ayoka Sowala. She is a remarkable person. Yes, she is. Queen Mother Ashe, Asheo. Thank you so much for celebrating her with us. So we're talking here about our organization. I've given you a little bit of background on our best practices and why we use art as a tool to facilitate global African dialogue, unity, and solidarity. Why we use art as a tool for collective work and responsibility. We're going to talk about our company overview, our service offerings in general, our Thai studies and cultural exchange, and then we're going to talk about the product that was uniquely developed for Mama Ayoka's community. You guys down there in Gainesville and beyond, if you're in a region outside of Gainesville and you're listening to this conversation tonight, come on, you can come too. Come and build this global unity and solidarity with us. Next slide, please. So what is a Thai tour? Remember that Thai, T-A-I, is the Teaching Artists Institute. And so a Thai tour, simply it's a journey. It's true immersion into a place. This is not Vegas. This is not the Bahamas. We do have opportunities to celebrate what we call vacation for vacation's sake. But when we say homecoming Ghana, when we call one of our Thai tours a journey, true immersion into a place, homecoming Ghana, we're saying that you're coming home. That means when you come to your mother's house, you may have to pick up a broom. You may have to fold some towels. You may have to wash a few. So you're going to enjoy that immersion into the place. But make no mistake about it. It is an immersion into the culture. So we want you to have real connections with real people. This is not the opportunity for you to go to a beach and disappear. If you're looking for that kind of tour, hey, we got you. But Homecoming Ghana is not that kind of tour. We're looking for people that want to go back home and help reconnect, help facilitate this collective work and responsibility for global African people. So the Teaching Artists Institute offers a unique artist-led travel experience that allows those who embark authentic exchanges with people of the world. Next slide. So we do customized itineraries like what we've developed for Mama Ayoka. We have knowledgeable artist guides and flexible schedules. A lot of our experiences include art as a premise. But for us, because art is everything, we show you the art in food. We want to show you the culinary traditions. We want you to taste red, right? We want you to taste that. We show you how food is an art form that really needs to be healed collectively. When I think about our responsibility to heal, I just want to thank the farmer in the room, because he talked about the farming tradition in his family. And the truth is, for us in the diaspora, the farm is the scene of the crime. So people don't want to be farmers because we remember the trauma, even when we don't acknowledge it. And so what we do in Homecoming Ghana is we're going to use that food and that land as a part of our healing. So on the Homecoming Ghana tour, you're going to experience the foodways. You're going to experience the agriculture. The Homowo Festival is a perfect example of how holistic agriculture is for our people. It's spiritual. It's the food we eat. When we say for the nourishment of our bodies, that is practice in real time. We're going to look at wellness and leisure. Mugisha Ali Allen, you just met him from Uganda. He's one of our lead Thai tour curators, and he will be there with you every morning doing yoga, what we call movement medicine. So every morning, we're going to remind you of that healing, the healing that it takes for our collective work and responsibility. Of course, we're going to look at our history and traditional art. And if you're one of the young people in the family, don't worry, nightlife will be there with you. Once we put our elders to bed, we'll make sure that we keep you entertained. Don't you worry. Thai tours, we go off the beaten path. So many people, when they take you to Ghana, there's so many people doing tours in Ghana now. I love it, especially after the year of return. But for us, when we take you to Ghana, we take you off the beaten path. We take you into the Upper West, to the city of Wachau, Hippo City. And we take you on the river and you see for yourself the hippos. They say that when the colonizer came to Wachau, that the local people, they went into the river on the backs of the hippos. And when the colonizer tried to follow them, the hippos would move and they would fall in the water and drown. These folklore, these stories, the local people in Wachau, they tell us about these stories in the Upper West region. Many people do tours to Ghana and they go on what we call the triangle. They start in Accra, the mighty Ga people, they operate and own that region. Then they go over to the slave dungeons, like what is pictured here, and they see Elmina and they see Cape Coast and they lament our ancestors at the door of return. And if they're lucky, they go to Kumasi. And in Kumasi, they may go to Banri and they learn about the kente cloth, the woven fabric. But for us, the journey doesn't stop there. Because we have artists curating these experiences, they want to take you into their home. And so our artists, they take you into the Upper West, into Wachau. They take you into the Upper East, into Balatanga. We have Baba Bernard Morna, who is at Sankana. He tells us about the history of his family and how they actually fought against the colonizers and won. We need those historic stories that empower us, especially in places like Ghana with the slave dungeons, where they somehow celebrate the fact that they still stay in these institutions. But the truth is that we won. Some of these battles, we showed up on that battlefield and we walked away as victors. And we include those kind of stories into our homecoming tour this year, or should I say next year, at Homecoming Ghana. Next slide, please. So you'll see we also do networking and investments. So Homecoming Ghana is also an opportunity for those that are looking for repatriation. Maybe you have lived out the best of your years here on this soil that is not yours. And so the question becomes, what do you need in order to actually repatriate, to go back home to Ghana? First and foremost, Africa is still a relationship economy. You have to know somebody. Guess what? We have families. Families. Our curators are families. You still need a family to adopt you. Yes, you have over 7,000 people of African American descent, those that went through the Ma'afa, that are living in the United States or from the Caribbean, that have decided to repatriate back to Ghana. But what we have learned as an organization is that the relationship economy reminds us that culture is the new currency. And the African culture means one of family and unity. That collective work and responsibility requires that you have a team. And that team in Africa is your family. And so in the Homecoming Ghana tour, we're doing naming ceremonies with our curators so that you can find a family that will adopt you if you're interested in repatriation. We're going to tell you all about it. So the secret to our work in Thai tours, again, is our curators. And a global network of Pan-African teaching artists have been trained to curate experiences inspired by their unique art forms and local environments. We bring that up because any company can take you back to any country in Africa. But the reason our tours are special as we attempt to operationalize Pan-Africanism is because they're artists. When you get to that place, at the slave dungeon, we're going to do a healing workshop for you. So it's not just point and look and see. When you get to Kumasi, we're going to do workshops with you, experiences curated by our artists, so that you can never have the type of experience that you would have without that artist, because they're showing you this environment through their eyes. Our curators are our secret ingredient. And so access, exclusivity, and quality assurance. You can see on this slide some of our curators pictured. Down at the bottom, you see some of our Ghanaian curators. Notice Bice. You also may know him as Obo. He started off in our organization. He was the president of the Musicians Union in Ghana. Now he's been elevated to the position of postmaster. When we work in Ghana, it's different from any company that comes, because we're working with Ghanaians that are building they're architects of the symbolic landscape in Ghana. They help to make Ghana happen. They bring us into events like Niapa, to the real ceremony for the Homowo, this spiritual experience that is closed off to the public. It is specifically for those that are invited. And so it's not just a place you can pay your money and get into. Sometimes even local people don't know or are not invited to be on the guest list. And so we're working with curators that have access and exclusivity. Next up, you can see next to him, we have Dominic Marfo. He's a proud Ghanaian man, and he is living in the Ndinkra village. He boils the tree bark and he makes the dye. The Ndinkra symbol, his family has lived for a generation to promote and preserve that legacy. He's one of our curators, and Raz Bandingo, etc. And so our curators are our secret ingredient. Next slide, please. So we have many types of travelers by age, by interest, by budget. We say you can do this experience with us anytime, but we recommend that you do a group travel so that you can benefit from a defrayed cost. Next slide. Next slide. So group travel, you can see on the right from 2019 is a tour that we offered. And I want to read this testimonial. Life is better with company. And Camp Cleveland, he said on his Facebook page, my experience traveling with Thai Tours was amazing. I have been around the world, but my trip to Ghana was one of the best. The team really took care of me and my family while we were in Ghana for the year of return in 2019. I will definitely make plans to join her and her crew in Uganda and Tanzania 2020, professional and down to earth. And I appreciate that testimonial so much because it speaks to the character of our curators. They're so approachable, and they're not looking to turn you into a tourist commodity. Because they've been trained, they understand our story. They aren't trying to use us as a dollar sign. Some of us, when we come to Ghana, especially because Ghana has been so successful at packaging history-based tourism, many of the curators that are working in Ghana around the tourism industry, they see our search for identity and connection and repatriation as big business, and they exploit that. But I'm so proud to say that the curators we work with, they see you as family because they see us as family. The tours that we develop in Africa are not tours for tour's sake. We're not only in the country when we do a tour for you. This is our daily bread. 365 days a year, we are Kwanzaa. We are Ujima, cooperative economics, Ujama. Kujichagulia, self-determination, Umoja. We operationalize Pan-Africanism. And so our projects and art for social transformation happen all year long. And so the curators that are putting together the experience for you, they are vested in our organization. And so they don't see you as a one-time dollar sign that they can exploit. as you search your identity and search for repatriation, because they value our relationship, and it helps us to create experiences like this one pictured here. Again, group travel, shared cross, traveling alone and want to save, allow tie tours to tie up and tie tight. So hey, you've been trying to get your family for years to come and they don't want to come. Leave them cousins at home. We can partner you with a roommate. We can put you with a group. So if you decide that it's just you that's coming with us next year, next August to Homecoming Ghana, well, guess what? We can find that family for you, that travel tribe. Next slide, you can skip. You can skip. You can skip. We won't be doing it ourselves travel this year. Thai studies and cultural exchange. So the reason we put this slide in, oh, and that's actually us pictured in Wichita on the river in Hippo City. And so the reason that we've included this slide around Thai studies and cultural exchange, because if you are a student, if you are a professor looking for sabbatical, if you are looking for field research, perhaps you every year, based on your industry, you have to recertify. And maybe you're a counselor and you have to get what we call continuing education credits. We can help to legitimize your trip. Let us make sure that this trip is a part of your portfolio, your international portfolio development. So we're not only a Thai tours company for tourism only. Because of our Thai studies and cultural exchange, we can give you certificate. We can make sure that you're getting credit for your participation in the trip. And when we explore fundraising with you, you can reach out to these institutions legitimately and have a conversation about how they can pay the cost for your inclusion into this opportunity. Next slide. If you are a young person, I saw some of the Watoto or dancing in the front during the drum roll. If you are a young person, it's never too early to begin to learn global learning, right? Going back home for us is not vacation. And our young people, they need this education as a part of their development. Some of us didn't learn that we were African until we were in our 40s and 50s. Imagine if we understood that as a child. Where would our community be? We can no longer, as a community, afford to keep starting from scratch. We need the young people that are behind us to continue this work, and it starts now. And so our organization, we are willing to work with the young people 10 months prior to their departure. If you have a young person that you know wants to participate in Homecoming Ghana and come with us next August, we will do monthly workshops with them to teach them about Pan-Africanism, to teach them who is Kwame Nkrumah. We send them little boxes in the mail so that they can taste Ghanaian chocolate, so that they can see and feel Kitenge or Kente cloth fabric. We want to introduce them so that they don't have culture shock. We want this cultural orientation. We teach them things about international cross-cultural communication, mutual beneficial, what that means when you're in somebody else's house. So let us engage those young people and prepare them for the journey. We are willing to do that, Thai Tours, under our Thai Studies Cultural Exchange Program. Next slide, please. So maybe you're in the audience today and you say, you know, Mama Ayoka, I love you. Homecoming Ghana sounds great, but I know I'm not going to be able to do it. Let us figure out how to include you in the journey. You can buy some of our products and we can use that money to support other people that do want to go. We have what we call a taste of the region, quarterly subscription boxes that highlight 4 regions around Pan-Africa every year, and we'll ship them right to your door. So you can get a taste of the region, even if this year is not the year that we're going to prepare you to go. I just want you to know that you're still with us in spirit, and we can make sure that your resources go to Mama Ayoka's team, whoever she selects to go with her and represent the Gainesville family. Next slide. Tie up, tie tight. We've got t-shirts too, y'all. Art Tribe Trade. Next slide. So before you even say no to yourself about demonstrating, operationalizing Pan-Africanism and getting on that plane and joining us for the Homecoming Ghana tour, I want to just debunk some of those myths that are in your mind. The reason that you haven't gotten your passport, the reason that you've been celebrating Kwanzaa for years and you've never been to Africa, the reason that the Homowo Festival in Gainesville is the only one that you think is available for you to participate because you can't afford to go. You spend just as much money in Vegas and the Bahamas as you would in Italy. And that is the same for Ghana. You think that it's so much more expensive, but our packages are all inclusive. So they include your flight, not just your flight to the country, but your flights within the country. Ga in Accra is a flight away from the Upper West in Wuchau, but we include that flight into your package. It's all inclusive. So you would spend just as much money if you come with Thai Tours. Next up, I got bills. Girl, I got all these bills. I'll never catch up if I go to Ghana for Homecoming Ghana. Guess what? Those bills will be right there when you get back. It's the truth. The nature of this capitalistic system is one that keeps you on a rat wheel where you're running like a hamster and you never catch up. And that is the point. Pay yourself first. This experience for you is necessity for your family's legacy. It is foundational that you go back. You are your ancestors' wildest dreams. I hope you've seen that t-shirt, but it's true. Travel to Africa is not a luxury for Black people. It's a birthright. It is your right to have this experience. And I want you to have it with Mama Ayoka, someone that has dedicated her life to teaching you in Gainesville and wherever you happen to be listening to us around the world about Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Last but not least, my favorite, stop buying Jordans and start buying experiences. You don't need that extra blender. You don't need that little thing that cuts the garlic. We got a tool for everything in the kitchen, don't we? We got one that pops the popcorn, one that bakes the bread. And then we look at our closets, lady. We got a scarf for every outfit. You don't need it. Stop buying material things and start determining what is of value for my family's legacy. Experiences, they will last forever. They never get old. Last slide, our contact information. I'm going to wrap up by showing you the flyer for this tour. And I'm going to ask that you decide to give your name and contact to Mama Ayoka after this Kwanzaa is over and help her to operationalize Pan-Africanism and join us at the Homecoming Ghana tour for 2024. If you decide that you want to help her, you will become one of our Thai Tour ambassadors. If you are a Thai Tour ambassador, you get a cheaper price than everybody else because you said, I want to put in some sweat equity. I'm willing to help her promote in Gainesville so that we can build a sister city. I'm willing to help her by bringing my family. We're going to come as a family. That helps. And we'll give you a cheaper price. We'll consider you a Thai Tour ambassador. We also give you basic travel education. We talk with you about what it means to be healthy abroad. Because let's face it, we've been drinking so much bleach in our water, we can't even drink water when we go to Africa if you've been living here on this soil for so long. So we teach you how to be healthy abroad. We tell you how to prepare and pack for your journey. We help you with fundraising. If you don't have enough money and you need help figuring out how to raise the money to travel, you will be one of our Thai Tour ambassadors, and that's available for you. Next slide. Yes, we make real travel easy. Please pull up the flyer for the tour. That's going to be our last slide. I'm looking at the time. We said we won't hold you long, family. 6 to 8 is our time. And so I don't want to stay longer than our time frame. I know you guys are there in person. But again, Mama Ayoka has this information, an ambassador, 4,500. And remember, family, that's all inclusive. That means that includes your $1,200 to $1,500 flight. That includes 2 meals per day. That includes your flights within the country. That includes all of your accommodations. That includes all of your curators. It includes your experiences and your entry into those places. But honestly, being able to experience the Homowo Festival in real life. We talk about Kwanzaa and how it was inspired by those first fruits festivals on the continent. But we're telling you that the return trip to Ghana next year, this homecoming, it is the opportunity for you to experience a real first fruits festival, a festival Homowo that she's been doing over 20 years in Gainesville, Florida. Now you get to go to Ghana with her family and do that on Ghanaian soil. How spiritual that is. What a blessing that will be to your family's legacy, to tell that story to your grandchildren or bring them with you so that they tell that story to them grandchildren and them grandchildren, on and on. We have tourists. You said, I don't want to go, but I got the money. I'm going to just pay my dues. We have payment plans for you. Anybody that signs up tonight, if you sign up tonight, you don't need all the money. But if you sign up tonight, we will give you a 10% discount. If you are a tourist out there and you sign up tonight, you can tell Mama Ayoka, count me in. I'm coming. That's what you got to do. If you do that, 10%. We'll give you a 10% discount because we want to encourage you to support her. And last but not least, Homecoming Ghana, that package, it includes the naming ceremony and all the tools that you need for that trade. It includes pre-trip workshops around ancestral repatriation to get you ready for the trip so that you're ready to receive once you arrive. And we're going next August 11th through the 24th. Now, I'll tell you, the Homowo Festival is the real deal. So we have chosen dates that put us hopefully at the beginning of the Homowo Festival, but it is based on the planting season. It's based on a planting season of maize. And so we don't know how the gods are going to help us with the plants. We don't know how the crops are going to grow. We can only ask God to help us and guide us. And hopefully we've chosen dates that will include the beginning of the festival. But these dates in August will include at some point the Homowo Festival. And so contact us. Thank you so much, Mama Ayoka, for inviting us here today and allowing us to help operationalize Pan-Africanism for your family and support the institutions in Ghana that you've been building for many years. Thank you again, Baba Haki.
Question about how many persons can your group accommodate?
So we want a group of 20. That is ideal for us. We can't accommodate any more than 30 at this point. Because of the sacred nature of the festival, they told us that some things are private. And so this is the actual spiritual practice of many of the leaders in the God community. And so out of respect for that, we want to make sure that our group doesn't exceed 30. But 20 is a good number for us. We won't exceed 30.
Well, we already have about 5, so the job is easy. To get 15 more at least.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We have 5 individuals already committed without seeing your presentation.
Wow, that's beautiful.